We have a
Yep.
bad storm. The computer's not working.
Okay, Judy. So we're going to go ahead and get started and welcome everybody tonight. We have a guest speaker, David. I'm going to say your last name wrong, McClamrock. Is that right?
That's correct. Just like
Okay.
it looks. Mac
Just like
Clam Rock. Yep.
kept it simple for me. Thank you.
Two,
And
two inanimate objects in a row.
he emailed us. Well, we started talking a month or two
Wait,
ago.
wait. Clams are animate.
Clams
Barely.
are animate objects. Yeah. Barely.
And it did an interview with us, well, with me and with Secular Pro Life and some other the Libertarians and I think there was another group in there. So he's had the round robin here of alternative pro life groups for sure, and did a really good article that we were obviously mentioned in. So really appreciate that. Just want to say that off the bat. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to David and let him talk. I told him, yeah, I usually talk 20, 30 minutes or so, and then we ask questions, interrogate, whatever we're here. So, and also sometimes there's some new folks or people just want to introduce themselves and might have something to share. So, Andrew, did you have something?
Where was the article published, or where?
Well,
you'll hear about that in just a sec.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm getting ahead of myself. So excited.
Keep your powder cool here. So his magazine. So David, I'll hand off to you, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak with you. I'm basically a writer and editor, not a speaker, so please cut me some slack if you notice any defects in this talk, okay? I recently started an online pro-life magazine called Solid for America. For the first issue, I designed the masthead and wrote all the articles myself to get the magazine going fast. For the second issue, I interviewed Jason Dean and a few other people, all very different from each other, namely Herb Garrity, pro-life atheist from Secular Pro-Life, Albert Veldhuizen from the Pro-Life Libertarian Caucus, and Kurt Smith from the Conservative Indiana Family Institute. If you want to read the interviews, just go to the bottom of the page on solidforamerica.com and look for the listing for issue 2, November 2025. So after I interviewed Jason, before I knew it, he was asking me to give this talk. The original proposed subject for the talk was the magazine, my pro-life journey, and my future plans. I rearranged that in chronological order, so I'll talk first about my pro-life journey, then the magazine, and finally my future plans. So in my younger years, I was a pretty typical pseudo-intellectual fool with zero pro-life views. After enduring some feeble and unsuccessful efforts to turn me into a Christian in Sunday school, I had zero religion too. Pretty much my only philosophies were the Playboy philosophy and the portions of Bertrand Russell's philosophy that ordinary people could understand, like why he was not a Christian. So I proceeded to put the Playboy philosophy into practice with some gullible young ladies. I later found out one of them had an abortion sometime after I dumped her and she got together with another Playboy philosopher. I tried not to think too much about it, but when I did think about it, it gave me the creeps. That was one of the first cracks in the wall of my pro-abortion Playboy philosophical edifice. Another and bigger crack in the wall came when I discovered the works of C.S. Lewis. My habit of thinking myself intellectually superior to Christians started to take some pretty hard knocks at that point. Here was a Christian who used to be an atheist, was at least as intelligent as Bertrand Russell and considerably more intelligent than Hugh Hefner or myself. And C.S. Lewis was nothing like the boring, half-hearted Christians I had endured in Sunday school. But the biggest crack in the wall came when I decided I really needed to become a Christian, although at that time I didn't like it any more than C.S. Lewis did when he decided he had to believe in God. And the reasoning that led me to become a Christian turned out to be pro-life to the core. I was a pretty bad, selfish, overgrown brat back then, and I didn't care a lot about other people's lives, whether they were born or unborn. But I did care a lot about my life. And I had to admit had not given myself life. I couldn't keep myself alive forever. It was like my life was heading toward a big waterfall and flimsy barrel. I wanted to keep on living no matter what. But how could I? Obviously, the Playboy philosophy and Bertrand Russell couldn't tell me anything about that. So I looked through every other philosophy and religion I could find. All of them except one seemed to me to have deficient concepts of eternal life, if they had any at all. If I wanted to live forever in genuine happiness, boundless fulfillment of every truly human longing, which I did and I wasn't going to stop, then there was no way around it. I decided I had to become a Christian. So I did. I've said more about what I was thinking back then in an article in the first issue of Solid for America entitled The Pursuit of the Highest Happiness. About being pro-life, I came to believe that God creates every human being, including me, at the moment of conception, and God gives every human being the same right to life that I had insisted on so strongly for myself. Why had I insisted on it so strongly for myself? Why should I insist on it so strongly for everyone? I had to conclude that it was because God made us to choose to live forever with Him and all His countless friends, and it was impossible to be truly satisfied with anything less. So I not only became a Christian, I became a Catholic Christian, and I actually believe all the teachings of the Catholic Church. So when I'm talking to the Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance, it's pretty obvious that we're not going to agree about absolutely everything. But I do think there are some very important things we can and should agree about, and that's where the magazine comes in. My most basic idea for the magazine is to help people who may disagree about some important things to unite on what they do agree about, to be polite and civil when discussing what they don't agree about, and to refrain from trying to slit each other's throats with razor thin political majorities. In a few words, to be good neighbors instead of enemies to the death. I'm pretty sure you'll agree with me that that would be a terrific improvement over what we've got going in America today. First, let me give you a bit of quick background about the decades between the time I became a Christian and the time I started the magazine. I went to Thomas Aquinas College in California, met my wife there, got married, and raised a family. And I've been married to my wife for almost 40 years, or actually over 40 years now. I also went to law school and got a job as an attorney, which I've kept for about 35 years. For much of that time, going back to the days of Ronald Reagan, I prayed for an end to abortion and contributed to pro-life organizations, which I still do. And I was pretty much your typical pro-life Republican, which I'm not anymore. Why not? Well, one of my daughters told me about the American Solidarity Party, which is America's only political party that is totally pro-life for all human life from beginning to end and everywhere in between. I was concerned that the National Republican Party was drifting farther away from a totally pro-life position, and I was disturbed by the vituperative and divisive rhetoric I was hearing from the man who became the 2024 presidential nominee, who's now the President of the United States. Frankly, I didn't admire him nearly as much as he admires himself, and I couldn't see supporting him merely because I thought the candidate from the other major party was even worse, at least in some respects. So I decided to join the American Solidarity Party. My wife did not. She's afraid that if she were to do anything for a third party, she would be helping to throw elections to the most undesirable major party. That's MUMP for short. I'm pretty sure many other pro-life people have similar thoughts. So I decided we need an American solidarity social movement for people who are not interested in third party politics as well as those who are. My small contribution to this movement, I figured, could be to start an online magazine to promote its ideas. So I started an online magazine called Solid for America to promote solidarity for America. If you're not sure what solidarity is supposed to mean, I'll get to that soon. There's not a huge amount that can be said about the magazine right now, since there are only 3 monthly issues of it so far, but I can tell you a little about the masthead I designed and the articles I wrote for the first issue, which will lead into my possibly grandiose plans, or at least hopes and dreams for the future. Masthead has a picture of the Statue of Liberty and the title of the magazine with the subtitle Pro-Life, Pro-Liberty, Pro-Happiness. Below that is a quote from Abraham Lincoln's second inaugural address. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds. I was originally thinking only of with malice toward none, with charity for all, but when I read the rest of the quote, I thought it was so good, I had to put it in. In particular, to bind up the nation's wounds is something we're terrifically much in need of now, when so many political and cultural warriors are oriented toward making the nation's wounds worse in order to gain advantages for their side against the other side. In the first issue of the magazine, after a brief explanation of why the magazine exists, I put an article entitled, What is Solidarity? First, I had to explain what kinds of solidarity I was not talking about. If you read the Wikipedia article entitled Solidarity, you'll see a picture from the industrial workers of the world showing workers losing their hands to raise a single gigantic fist in opposition to the ruling class. That is most definitely not the thing. What I'm talking about is more of a Christian democratic concept of solidarity, which can be defined as strong and enduring cooperation for mutual help and help for the helpless in accordance with the common good. So I proceed to talk about things like what is the common good and why you don't have to lose your hand in a gigantic fist. Then there's an article entitled What We Can Learn from the Abolitionists, which I'll come back to in a few minutes because it's the one that's most directly related to my plans and hopes for the future. After that, there's an article entitled, Is the Left the Enemy? You may have noticed that many pro-life people are always complaining about something called the left as the great enemy of all that is good, true, and beautiful. Then you'll see many people who are not pro-life complaining about the right, also known as the far or hard or religious right, as the hate-filled enemy of all progress. Of course, pro-life people are supposed to be part of this enemy, so you automatically have to fear and loathe them. The combatants rarely or never bother to define what left and right are supposed to mean, because those words are not intended to promote mutual understanding. Their only purpose is to serve as weapons in the cold civil war that is tearing our country apart. I've examined the concepts of left and right in politics and explained why they're worse than worthless. They had meaning at the time of the French Revolution, but not today. Once the communists got a hold of them, their only meaning was that you were on the left if you favored communism and on the right if you opposed it. So everyone from the Nazis to Pope Pius XI, who wrote a famous encyclical against Nazism, was supposed to be on the right merely because they were opposed to communism. In view of this communist-oriented and totally unrealistic distinction between left and right, it didn't matter that both Nazis and communists were a whole lot like each other in being totalitarian mass murderers. And things are no better today. If anything, they're worse. Today, you see large numbers of people on one side of the cold civil war indiscriminately condemning their opponents as Nazis, fascists, and the like, whether they really are or not. You see large numbers of people on the other side lumping all their opponents into the left, implying that the communists are the like, whether they really are or not. In decades gone by, at least words like Nazis, fascists, and communists referred to actual Nazis, fascists, and communists, but not anymore. It's time for this nonsense to stop. What we need, I'm saying, is for pro-life people to unite in seeing themselves as totally pro-life, pro-liberty, and pro-happiness, in opposition to positions that in some way are anti-life, anti-liberty, and anti-happiness. and to dump the political words left and right in the trash bin of history where they belong. Now, what about what we can learn from the abolitionists, and how does that lead into my plans and hopes for the future? Return with me now to the 1830s, when the prospects for the anti-slavery or pro-liberty movement were bleak at best. I should mention that the modicum of knowledge I have acquired about the history of that time, I mostly got from a fascinating book by Professor Corey Yates of York College in Pennsylvania entitled Liberty Power, Anti-Slavery Third Parties, and the Transformation of American Politics. In the 1830s, both major parties in the US, the Whigs and the Democrats, were trying as hard as possible to evade the issue of slavery. They were playing hardball, and they were largely winning the game by means such as refusing to hear anti-slavery petitions in Congress and, allowing the slave-holding Postmaster General of the United States to ignore the illegal actions of his subordinates who dumped anti-slavery mailings in the trash. Meanwhile, many abolitionists, led by the famous William Lloyd Garrison, disdained politics. There was a tiny political party, the Liberty Party, dedicated to the abolition of slavery. In the 1840 presidential election, the Liberty Party got 0.3% of the popular vote. In the 1844 election, the Liberty Party did better, getting over 2% of the popular vote. But it appears to have thrown that closely contested election to the Democrats, who were largely even worse on slavery than the Whigs. Remember that if you think pro-life people, who are the successors of the abolitionists, have a hard time today. So what happened? Number one, the abolitionists didn't give up because of their strong conviction that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Number two, the abolitionists formed alliances among pro-liberty Whigs, Democrats, and third-party supporters, which ended up transforming the great divide in American politics from Whigs versus Democrats to pro-liberty versus pro-slavery. Number three, in bringing about this transformation, the abolitionists and their allies persuaded huge numbers of Americans that what they called the slave power was a threat to the liberties of all Americans, white as well as black. And we know what happened. Within about 25 years after that miserable 1840 election, and only a few years after the slave power had gone all out to show how great a threat it really was, not only to liberty but to the Union, the 13th Amendment was enacted and slavery was legally abolished. Obviously, the abolition of slavery did not abolish racial prejudice and discrimination. And yet today, almost everyone knows it's simple common sense that no person should be permitted to own another person as property. When you look back at how things were before the Civil War, you can see that this is one of the greatest examples of genuine progress in American history. Pro-life people are the abolitionists of today. We stand for the right to life for all, just as they stood for the right to liberty for all, no matter how vicious and deceitful might be the opposition from the profiteers and false prophets of dehumanization. We oppose the death power of today, just as they opposed the slave power of their time. We can and must hope for a victory as astounding as the victory of the abolitionists. Hope for a future in which those profiteers and false prophets have vanished, and it is simple common sense that no one should be permitted to kill an innocent person, no matter how small, hidden, speechless, and totally dependent upon someone else. So what can we do about it? Most importantly, as I was saying, we need to see how much we can agree on, even if we're highly unlikely to agree about everything. The Liberty Party was basically a single issue party, but that didn't turn out to be a winning strategy. The winning strategy, which was to oppose any extension of slavery while also taking positions on many other issues of the day, was initiated by the Free Soil Party and completed by the Republican Party, as it then was. I'm hoping that Solid for America magazine can play some part in developing a similar winning pro-life strategy that will lead to an enduring victory, like the ultimate victory of the abolitionists. Today, the abortion industry and its supporters are engaged in strenuous efforts at rapid expansion of abortion, like by means of abortion pills and subsidized abortion, and they're greedy for tax dollars to support still further extensions. The abortion industry's supporters have been actively trying to restrict pro-life free speech, most notably in schools and universities that should be honoring and protecting free speech. Even many people who don't support strict laws against abortion can see that they should not have to pay for it, that abortion pills should not be treated like over-the-counter medications, and that any threat to pro-life freedom of expression endangers all freedom of expression. Totally pro-life people should cooperate as much as possible with mere opponents of tax-supported abortion and unrestricted abortion, and with all true friends of freedom of expression, to roll back abortion while never forgetting that the abolition of abortion is the ultimate goal, and a goal that can be attained, just as the abolition of slavery could be attained. Now, what about the positions on other issues? Obviously, there are a large number of other issues, and there's no way to talk about all of them at once. But I think there are at least a couple of hot topics in the so-called culture war that we need to seek at least partial agreement on, if possible. I'm envisioning a couple of articles, or maybe series of articles, in Solid for America to be entitled Marriage, What Can We Agree On? And Gender, What Can We Agree On? As you can see, the basic aim of these, and possibly other What Can We Agree On articles, would be to try to bind up the nation's wounds by focusing on what we can agree on, even if there's no way we will agree on everything. I readily admit that it might not work too well. A lot of people might be totally sure it won't work at all, but I think at least we've got to see if it can work. If it does work, I think it could result in what I envision as a pro-life center position in American politics. As you recall, I've said I don't believe in left and right in politics, but I understand a lot of people don't agree with me about that. For those who think left and right do have meaning, I propose abandoning the left and the right in favor of the pro-life center, in which all Americans of goodwill, supposedly coming from the left or the right, can find at least some measure of common ground. That's really the key to the whole thing. All Americans of goodwill, with malice toward none, with charity for all, seeking to bind up the nation's wounds. Will there really be enough Americans of goodwill to do the job, or will there turn out to be far too many of ill will for it to be possible? Only God knows, and God isn't telling. We have to find out for ourselves by striving on to finish the work we are in, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, which God may do even for those who don't believe in him, like the pro-life atheists. So now you've heard where I'm coming from and what I've got going and what I'm hoping for. Please let me know if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, criticisms, or whatever. And as I was saying, if you'd like to take a look at the magazine, just look for solidforamerica.com. How's that? 26 minutes, right on time. Okay.
Perfect. You did really good, David. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so go ahead, David. Are you ready for? Okay, so now's the time for we do brief introductions if someone wants to do that, if they're new or just want to reintroduce themselves, and then if they have a question or comment for David or for us, please let us know, and I'll just go around the room, and you can either just verbalize your question or you can type in the chat if you wish, and I'll start with our friend Andrew. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Andrew Bear. I'm on the board of Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance. I'm sorry, what was the other part we're answering?
Oh, just you have any comments or questions? I know. Put you on the spot.
Oh, Well, I won't get into. I'm not a big fan of the American Solidarity Party, but that's a side note. Big,
Neither is my wife. That's why I
there's just a
started
lot
this
of things that are
why I
like,
started this magazine.
yeah. I mean, like it's like single payer healthcare and uh,
There's actually a variety of opinions about
yeah,
that.
repealing
But
repealing gay marriage,
it's
gun
very small.
control.
It's very small.
Yeah,
It's smaller than the Liberty Party in 1840. So
yeah.
so a
I
lot
mean,
of
that's the
people
thing that
I
scares
can
me though,
see why a
because
lot of people might not think much of it.
that's what scares me though, because our elections have been so close. They've been, determined by 6 or 7 states based on 1 or 2 points in each of those states. Trump won in
Yeah.
2016 by like 140 votes spread across a couple
Yeah, you
states.
might not want to vote for a third party under circumstances like that,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
where
yeah,
I live in Indiana, there could be huge numbers of American Solidarity Party voters and yet not affect the election outcome in Indiana.
Okay. Thanks, Andrew. Susan, welcome back. Did you have any want to introduce yourself and have any questions or comments for David? And you're on mute, by the way, Susan.
Whoop.
There you go.
Okay, my name is Susan Moronic, and I really like the Rainbow Coalition, the Pro-Life Alliance. I am a Catholic from birth. I'm a cradle Catholic. I have no problem with being pro-gay and being 100% Catholic. It's no problem to me at all. In fact, I think it's mandated by the gospel. So, but anyway, I'm also I'll repeat what Andrew said. I mean, I didn't want to vote at all at the last election. I couldn't stand either candidate, but I couldn't, but the Democrats were so pro-choice. I was like they forced my hand, and the media kept saying this is going to be so close. It was going to be a knuckle biter. That I just said, okay, I'm going to vote for Trump, whom I do not like at all, and who I think he's a bit dangerous, or a lot dangerous. But at any rate, but again, mostly what I've heard about third parties is that they help the other side. Small
Yes.
third parties help the other side, which makes me very nervous about them. I understand that as a pro-lifer, we need to solidify across the border. And I'm going to be really, you'll probably be a very alienating statement, but I have not found any pro-life movement in the Democratic Party at all. I was really excited to hear about Democrats for Life until I found out that they wouldn't defend the unborn until they were 6 months old. What's the point at 6 months? Give me a break. You won't defend the pro-life, the baby until the baby is 6 months old, and then you assume that the baby has rights? Give me a break. So at any rate, I will shut up now.
And
well,
Susan, if you don't mind, Susan, what state are you in? I
In
know, but
Wisconsin, I'm in
you're in
Wisconsin.
oh,
Wisconsin. So that's a little
Susan, can I
different
ask
than
a question?
Indiana.
yeah,
Hold
I
on
vote in
just a second,
Pennsylvania,
Judy.
so my,
Yeah.
you know,
Andrew's
Susan?
in Judy.
I vote in Pennsylvania, and so actually,
I have
when
a
you mentioned
question for
York College,
Susan.
that's my hometown.
I'll let you finish. I have a question. You mean 6
You
months
live
in the
you live in York?
I'm originally from York, yeah. Now I'm
Okay,
Okay.
in
I'll let you
the
finish.
area, but yeah.
Okay.
Susan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead,
I
Judy.
was wondering when you said 6 months, I was going to invite them to speak for us, but you mean 6 months in the womb or 6 months out of the womb? I'm not sure what you mean.
The Democrats for Life will protect the unborn child when they are 6 months old. They
6 months.
recognize the
Wait,
humanity
wait.
of the
You mean
unborn child at 6 months.
you
In
mean
the
6 months
womb.
in the womb or out of the
Yeah,
womb? I'm
gestation,
confused.
In
yes.
the womb, in the womb. So we're for pro-life. We're protecting the unborn, but the unborn we recognize them as having human rights at 6 months of age. Give me a break.
I'm still confused. You mean 6 months in the womb or six
In the
months?
womb.
Correct.
When the
Okay,
baby is 6 months in the womb, they'll say that this is a human person and should be protected. 6 months, 2/3 of the 9 month journey, they'll recognize the unborn as being human. Excuse me, that's a
And
little late.
yeah, well, half the abortions happen before 6 weeks anyway, so
Yeah, right. So, big deal.
yeah.
So
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
No,
I was
that's okay. No,
I
thank
was
you
so
for sharing.
excited about Democrats for Life. Oh, great, Democrats for Life, finally something. And then I read about them. It's like,
I don't want to go
you
back
just
and forth, but I told Jason earlier that I might try to find speakers, and that was one of the ones I was going to suggest, but I guess they're out.
they're out
No.
because why don't you just be honest and say you're pro-choice?
Well, they
That's
have an article
months.
about Bernie Sanders being a pro-life ally. So
Well, I know. Let me corral the horses for a moment here. I do know there are a few, dare I say, good pro-life Democrats out there. I know there are. Of course, I know there are, and I know some
they
of them.
are still there.
But
Thank Bernie Dem-
I'm
I can
Democrat. I
tell you
had to be because of my
just
job.
a second, Judy. In my 50 years on the earth, which isn't too much, it seems to have really declined from like the 90s. There are actually more pro-life Democrats in office here and where I'm from, Wichita, than Republicans when I first started in pro-life in the early 90s. That's how much things have changed. And now there's almost zero as far as in office. I mean, there's very few and far between, but it's just gotten worse and worse and worse in terms of. So I'm going to summarize it this way: there's still pro-life Democrats, Susan, that I think are 100% pro-life, but it seems like there's fewer and fewer of them. And who's in charge of Democrats for Life and what's going on, I really don't know that part. We did have a board member that was active with them, and as far as I know, he was 100% pro-life. But I'll leave it at that. And of course, as you know, as we're talking about all of this, I think most of you know this, but of course, Rainbow Pro Life is non-sectarian, and we are open to discussing this all, of course, but we don't officially or take a stand one way or the other. Kind of to David's point, right? We're not left, we're not right. We are trying to be pro-life regardless. So now, Judy, I'll come back to you. Did you have a question for David or a comment that you'd like to share?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
I kind of lost it now. David, it's just confusing. I think that you were talking about like when you were younger, you were a playboy. I don't want to get too much, and then you became a Christian, and a lot of the issue. But I mean, obviously, I was always religious, and actually, the coming out was made confirmed the fact that you have a tremendous hated minority. And as far as a woman with an unplanned pregnancy, particularly teenagers, tremendously hated in society. By the way, interesting. You talk about happiness. I think it's interesting. You hear about teenage suicides. I very rarely hear about a teenage mother that commits suicide. I mean, I don't know if it happens. I'm sure it does, but you don't hear too much of that. So, I
Teenage.
guess, you know,
Did you say, Judy, teenage pregnant people? Or I'm sorry. Did you say young girls that are? I'm sorry, I missed that last part. I didn't hear you.
You're muted, Judy.
You're mute.
You're muted.
my computers are down because we're having a bad storm here, and it's not
Okay.
working. As a
Sorry.
teenage mothers, you rarely hear about them committing suicide. I mean, I'm sure it happens, but it doesn't happen. Is that I don't hear too much about it. I guess you could say pregnant parenting people. Whether it's a trans man or a mother. I don't know. But
Right. Well, yeah, they're usually
you know,
girls, right? And so, well, and we do it statistically, that anyone that's pregnant, they have one of the lowest suicide rates of any demographic. And then after that, of course, it kind of goes up. There's postpartum depression. There's some other things that come into play. So I can vouch for that. To that point, David, do you want to comment on anything that Judy said there?
I'm finding it a little hard to understand if there's a question in there.
I'll
Could you try one more time?
teenage mothers committing suicide. I'll just use mothers, although
Hey, Judy, we'll have to come back to you. He's in
non-binaries
the middle of
and
a.
trans. Sense of responsibility.
Can't hear.
All right. We'll come back around, try to come back around. Judy's in the middle of a storm somewhere in Pennsylvania, I think she's at. Michael, we'll go to you next. Welcome back.
Hello. I'm a little sick right now, so I do apologize if I'm not as
That's
talkative.
okay.
No, I have a lot of respect for the Solidarity Party. I actually did see like a lot of their pro-life work. Now, I mean, we do have like differing religious views, but both of our religious views says, I don't know, killing babies is bad. So like, you know, people should go with that. Anyways, I don't really have much to add, but I will like to check out the article. Um, can you say the name one more time so I can look it up real quick?
I put it in the chat.
The magazine is Solid for America. It's in the URL https colons double slash solid for America all one word solidforamerica.com.
All right.
And then it's got
Andrew,
the
can you
present.
put that in the chat? I'm
I got it.
okay, thank you.
Oh,
Andrew will
Solid for
put it in the
America.
chat for you. So you can add, and you'll see the article that
That's what about.
with the interview.
I put it in the chat. I put it in the chat if you want
Okay,
to read it.
thank you.
Yeah.
You.
So Judy was just mentioning, yeah. So you rarely hear about teen moms committing suicide, and that's pregnant. Yeah, pregnant population is the least likely to commit suicide of just about any group. That's correct. And Andrew is sharing also 80% of suicide deaths are among men, and pregnant women are one of the least likely groups to commit suicide. Yes, that is correct. So I'll move right back on to Lydia.
Hi,
Hey, Lydia.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. David, thank you so much for being here. I'm really glad that you're here. I'm hoping that you being here and sharing with us means that you have joined our organization. I hope. Um, I am, I have to say this. I am a born again Christian, and don't worry, Judith, I won't go off on some kind of tangent. But I'm also conservative, and I wasn't always, and also wasn't always pro-life. And I'm a Trumper. So anyway, I wanted to say that, and also to say that for I've mentioned this before to the group, but just to those of you who may not be aware, I have been working for the Center on Halsted. Now I work as an independent, so they call me when they need a fill-in. Center on Halsted is LGBTQIA plus center that helps the mostly people of that community, especially those individuals who are between the ages of 16 to 24, something like that. Of course, they also help folks who are adults and older adults and so forth. They have all kinds of support groups, and they are near and dear to my heart because they helped me when I was in a really low point in my life, where the only non-human I loved was God, and other people in my life kind of sucked except for them. So I just want to make that there. But here I am in our organization, and I'm very glad to be in this organization. Now, David, I wanted to get back to you. I didn't quite hear what has even gotten you here to this point to simply share with us. I don't know if you're with us in an organization, which is fine, it's your choice. But I'm just glad you're here. But I'm kind of curious, how did you find out about us? I don't think I heard that. And also, what do you think so far?
How did I find out? I was looking on the internet. I use DuckDuckGo to search for. I was looking for basically any kind of unusual pro-life organizations. I pretty much already knew about the usual ones, and one of the ones I came on was Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance. So I took a look at the website and looked interesting, and I thought this is one good thing I could look at for how to create a bigger and more unified pro-life movement. And so I asked Jason or asked if somebody wanted to be interviewed, and Jason said yeah, and he gave me a good interview. And then, as I said before I knew it, he was asking me to give this talk. So
Oh,
that's basically it.
well, that's wonderful. It's really wonderful. And as I said, I do hope that you visit us again and that you join us.
Well, um, in my younger years, I was kind of bisexual. Now, as I said, I've been married to a woman for 40 years, and I have not cheated on her with guys or gals. So I'm not sure how well I would fit, if at all, into the rainbow aspect, but
Oh, you still fit right.
the pro-life aspect, yeah, I that is what I'm pursuing, and you know,
Well,
I don't regard the rainbow aspect as a lot weirder than a lot of other things in this world.
yeah.
But
Well,
Well,
I
and rainbow
appreciate
means it applies to everybody.
I
It's all
appreciate
the
that.
colors to
Can I get
everybody
my point
together.
across real quick? I appreciate
yeah,
that, David. I really do. And you are very, very much welcomed, as Michael was saying a few minutes ago, and then also Jason said a little while ago. Anybody, if you're pro-life, you're welcome.
okay, thank
Thank,
Well, if
you.
you're, yeah, and
and let me
friendly
just
at least to LGBT. Yeah.
so yeah, and so I should clarify. So yes, we're the rainbow. I think is what Andrew's also saying here. Yeah, it's LGBT plus, and we have allies. So we obviously have folks. I shouldn't say obviously. We have folks. Some of them that are on the call tonight that are not part of what you call the gay community. In other words, they're straight. They're allies.
Mhm.
They support us. And on top of that, if at least the way as the executive director, how I'm running things, if people are respectful and they reach out to
Right.
me, even if we don't agree on gay marriage or whatever that is, that's in my world still not bad. I think why I wanted to have David with us tonight was for this very reason, is that unity is very important. We as pro-lifers really can't afford to lose anybody we don't already have.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're talking tonight. And it's not always easy. I get it, because like this guy's against gay marriage, or this guy's, yeah, well, that is a little uncomfortable. And be uncomfortable. I mean, David is, I think, being a little bit uncomfortable being with us. I mean, he's willing to, when he reached out to me, I was already interested, because I was like, okay, he seems very different than our group, obviously, but he already reached out to Herb, or he was going to, and I was like, well, this is real interesting. I want to be part of this, and I want to interact with this, so that's why we're here today.
Oh,
Thank
good.
Okay, one.
you.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, David. Lydia,
One.
oh, go ahead.
Sorry, one. Yeah, that was one thing I was hoping we might talk a little bit about, because you know how I see the issue of same-sex marriage. There are basically two positions that rational people can accept, and the one that is in favor of same-sex marriage actually should logically be the one accepted by most Americans. The reason being that most Americans accept contraception, which turns an other sex relationship into the exact functional equivalent of a same sex relationship as far as procreation is concerned. And the only reason for uh, accepting a different concept of marriage is because you think that marriage should have something uh, more or less to do with procreation. Now, the most logical view on that side, I think, is that you combine the concern for procreation with a very liberal concept of what is conceivably related to procreation. And that is how you get other sex marriage being recognized and same sex marriage not. Which is definitely different point of view. But what I'm thinking is that people who accept both of these views can be good neighbors and disagree about which one they accept, but not try to crush each other as a political opponent. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I do.
yeah. And let me interject again. I'm sorry. Let me interject again. So, and this is some statistics that Andrew's surfaced recently, and David might not be aware of. Several folks coming to abortion clinics to get abortion are not straight. They're either saying that they're non-binary. Some of them are lesbians that do get pregnant. We had a post-abortive person very recently on our Zoom meeting that was lesbian. So I think we'll say traditional pro-life community is rather unaware of that. I've heard that directly. I think it's just maybe a lack of knowledge. It's like, well, why do lesbians give a damn about this? And of course they should, and they should. Hopefully, we want them to be on the side of life.
Mhm.
And so there's that aspect, and then there's the aspect of if our goal is to expand human rights and reduce abortion, a lot of the folks on the other side, if you will, we're not saying left or right, but the other side that are not supportive of prenatal life, what do they think of gay rights? I think most of them are very affirmative of gay rights, not preborn rights, but gay rights. So when David's talking to them, it might turn them off, not even to the abort. They can't get to the abortion part yet because they're stuck on, he hates us because my friends are gay and he hates gay people. That's
Yeah,
not true. I already know that.
that brings up an important point, which is a lot of times people categorize mere disagreement as hate. And
Yeah.
you can disagree with somebody and still respect them and understand how come they don't agree with you, and say, yeah, I can understand that, and it would not be the end of civilization if your view prevailed, but I still don't agree with it.
Thank you. Andrew?
And thankfully, just to go back a little bit, and thankfully we have marriage in this country where infertile couples are still allowed to get married even though they're not procreating.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
They're still allowed to get married, so we're not
Yeah.
going to take their rights away because they can't procreate. And of course, adoption is a beautiful option and something that in the pro-life community we should be really encouraging. And it could be a really uniting thing. You want to have, gay couples want to raise kids. They, in families and within the bounds of marriage. That's a perfect, opportunity to help kids who are, who need loving homes. But anyway. The other thing I was going to say, what Jason is, there's 16% is what, according to the latest Guttmacher numbers, 16% of abortion patients said that they were not heterosexual females. So that could be lesbians, transgender males, non-binary folks, etc. However they choose to define themselves. So there's kind of a mix. Most of those people, or bisexual, and most of that group is the bisexual category. But here's the thing: if you go to a pregnancy resource center, and that pregnancy resource center is also talking about marriage between a man and a woman, or if they're talking about bathrooms, and they're like, delving into issues that are just on the periphery that really have nothing to do with pregnancy help, but are enough to turn people away. That's potentially a life lost, because they're not even willing to consider that center because look, they're out there doing X, Y, and Z on whatever their issue. And it's 16% of the abortions are now this group. So LGBTQ plus, et cetera, 16% of the abortions. That's over 150,000 abortions a year based on the numbers. So that's a lot of people. And these are people who probably are the least likely to have, family support, to have, because their families have disowned them or whatever the situation is. They have societal pressure from within the LGBTQ plus community because, oh, you're a lesbian, you should not be. How did you have sex with a guy? Why did you do that? You know, that's not your. So stay in your lane. And then the same thing with the transgender community. It's the same idea. Like this, a transgender male carrying a baby to term, it creates a lot of difficult issues in terms of identity and all that. And so it's very complicated, but these cases do happen. So when people are out there saying, "Oh, well, pregnant men can't get pregnant," and it's like, well, actually, transgender men can get pregnant. They were born with all of the equipment to produce a child. So anyway, and the other thing I recently raised my hand for, is there a way in this issue number 2, David, to solo out Jason's interview since it's further down the page rather than have to have people like scroll down?
I think so. Let me
because then we could post it on all of our social media. That would be great.
Yeah, let me
It was a written interview.
Let me write that down, and I'll send an email to Jason. I'm pretty sure there is. I just have to refresh my memory about how to do it.
Is there like another? Is it just the issue altogether, or is there like individual articles or somewhere that I'm maybe not seeing?
There are like anchors. If you know what an anchor is in HTML, that's that are for each article. So I'm thinking there should be a way either to single it out by the anchor, or if not that, I could probably just copy that interview and email it to Jason, and he could email it on to other people that are interested.
Well, I mean, if you post it on your website, that way we can drive traffic to your website and get people to to your website.
What you have to do at this point, since I've got issue 3 out, you have to go down to the bottom of the page and look for issue 2. And then you can either cite the whole issue, or you can wait a little while for me to see about.
Well, David and I will.
The interview.
Yeah, we email back and forth a lot, so we'll thank you, Andrew, for bringing that up. We'll collaborate and get that going.
Okay.
Judy, you had another question, or you need
to
type
Let me try this now, because this
okay.
is all right. I was thinking, like, as Andrew was saying, it is a problem, and I'm trying to help out, trying to find groups that will accept not people that are not traditionally straight. I mean, I know adoptions are on. I think Birthright accepts them before Planned Parenthood gets them, because that's why a lot of people are going to places like Planned Parenthood. Because what are you going to do? Send her? Some of these pro-life pregnancy centers are going to throw Bible verses at her, and she's not going to walk into the place think I'm a sinner. I'm some of them might be bisexual, but a lot of them are lesbians that have tried to go straight and failed. That's probably a large percentage of it.
And sexual assault is a huge issue. Yeah.
Sexual assault is also. I'll have sex with a man. I used to get that myself. I'll have sex with a man. You'll be straight. And Lydia, I'm going to comment on you. I've never said anything about going on a diatribe about being Christian. I put it in the chat. I've always been very respectful of Christians. I like your strength in the religion. Yes, the homophobia is a problem, but I've always had a strong respect for Christians. So that's that.
Thank you, Judy. Okay.
Okay. What I do about that, I try to identify the pregnancy help centers that are going to help everybody without slinging Bible verses at them, or talking about things that they probably don't, pushing views that they probably don't agree with. We have the Women's Care Center, and there's Let Them Live, which is a national organization that helps out women that are tempted to have abortions because of financial reasons in particular. I got an interview with the founder of Let Them Live in the third issue of Solid for America. So I try to identify the ones that are not going to be the Bible verse slingers and anti-gay viewpoint pushers, and I contribute to those and more or less ignore the others.
Thank you,
Well, and
David.
also
And
it's like I have started and I actually have pretty much finished. It's like a guide for pregnancy resource centers and how to communicate to the LGBTQ plus community.
You're
How
writing this? You're
yeah,
writing?
it's pretty much
Oh,
finished.
terrific.
Yeah, and but one of the things too is just though even if it's just their website or their social media, say they retweeted something about like men and women's sports or something. If a gay person goes on their website or their social media and they see that, that's just like immediate like, oh, okay, they're not gonna like me either. So let me just discount them altogether.
Even
So
if
like
it
those
doesn't happen to be true.
little things like that will turn people away.
Yeah.
But then little things can also help. Like there was
Mhm.
a survey that the abortion industry did of like they asked abortion patients, what would make you feel more welcome at the abortion center that you were at? And one of the things that they said was more inclusive intake for LGBTQ plus people specifically. They said more inclusive intake forms where they don't list like just male and female as the gender those are the only options, or they have they refer to parents rather than the father or the mother or the spouse, and those sorts of things, having to avoid kind of awkward conversations with the people that way with intake forms. But also if they just had like a rainbow flag out in front of the pregnancy resource center, like it's a symbol to every gay person sees that and goes, oh, that's a safe place for me, I can go there, and everyone else may not even
Possibly,
flag.
unless they disagree with the ideological implications of the rainbow flag.
Well, right. I mean,
What I would say probably best to uh, get rid of the specific language as far as possible. I mean, obviously, this person's pregnant. There's another parent. Who are the other parents? You can ask that without any sex specific language. But the rainbow flag, I would think might be
well,
considered
that's
going
just an
too far
example.
for
You
some
could have a
people.
sign that just says "All are welcome," or
Yeah,
we don't discriminate
that's
against
better.
whatever, which is the law
Yep,
anyway. But
yep. That's better because the rainbow flag, rightly or wrongly, I think seems to a lot of people it would suggest that you're taking one side
well, I think
in
they
the
should
great
take that side.
culture war against the other.
I think they should take that side. I mean, it doesn't hurt anybody else, but it's okay.
well, and David, the rainbow flag might be a bridge too far, but and I'm going to put you on the spot. I I believe this. You'll verify that whenever whenever you come across in any aspect a person that you think would respond better to us or someone like us, you need to send them to us. And that might be a little arrogant,
Okay,
and we're a little bit
I
ahead of our
haven't
skis maybe, but
I haven't yet, but I'll certainly
yeah,
keep that in mind.
if a pregnancy center or a person considering
Mhm.
abortion or whoever that is or post abortive, if for some reason you get that inkling, either they have a rainbow flag
Mhm.
or they're scared. There a lot of, and I'm a Christian, but I know a lot of the people we're trying to reach are terrified to death of the old lady with the rosary. Now, I think that's kind of silly and a little bit overblown. I think these ladies are very sweet people
Mhm.
overall, but they are terrified to death of them and scared of them and don't want to be judged
Yep.
and don't want to get into it. And if you don't want to get into it, then we've lost. We've lost another life, and that's a problem.
Well, and most
So
straight
we
women going into a pregnancy center are not going to be turned off by seeing a rainbow flag out for Pride Month in June. They're just not, because the whole city in any kind of major city, it's all going to be rainbow anyway. But then,
well, yeah.
but like they won't even think twice because they're in a desperate situation. They need need to put food on the table. They need to make ends meet. They need to continue their education, et cetera, et cetera. They have health risk needs and whatever. But then an LGBTQ plus person maybe they see that and that's like okay, I can go there, and that's like could spark something. I mean, that's just an example. You could use the equal sign. There's all kinds of different symbols that people use to indicate, all are welcome.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. We have a couple more people share. Israel?
Hello?
He's on mute.
Hello.
There you go. There you go.
Hello.
Go ahead.
For David and Andrew.
Go ahead.
It's about pharmacists. I mean, it's unrelated to the discussion, but I have a question about pharmacists. If a pharmacist is pro-life, are they obligated to dispense the abortion pill?
Shouldn't be.
Right now, no, but that they have if they tried to do that, that was the Biden administration took aim at the conscience rights big time, and Trump came in and loosened that a little bit in his first term for sure, and now he's done some things here, but it's a really, really tricky situation between that and then also assisted suicide drugs. That's the other pharmacist issue right now that's really coming to a head. Because the other side definitely wants to force them to have to do it. And same thing with medical students having to perform abortions while they're in medical school. They just changed one of the policies that it's now you have to opt in rather than opt out of doing abortions in medical schools, which is good. But that was changed under Biden. Yeah.
Right. And then we're on a razor edge. If the next president's pro-abortion, God forbid, then that all goes bye-bye and you will be forced to, I'm sure. And by the way, Israel is, hope you don't mind saying, is in Canada. So things are different, probably worse, unfortunately, in Canada. Is that correct? Or do you know?
Oh, yes.
Well, let's say that a customer walks in the drugstore and asks for the abortion pill, RU486. I mean, I guess if the pharmacist is pro-life, it makes it awkward, I guess. Because, I mean, they may ask a pro-choice colleague to dispense the pill, or are they going to say, no, I'm not going to dispense the pill to you? I mean, what can they do? If a customer comes up to them and says, I want the RU486 pill, I have a prescription, what can they do not to make it awkward?
I mean, it's basically just, if there was something else that you disagree with, say you were working at the grocery store and you were morally opposed to working in the butcher section, for whatever reason, or that sort of thing, you can opt out of that, for religious reasons or your deeply held moral beliefs. You just have to ask someone else to cover it for you. And that would be the role of the pharmacies too. And this is something they're going to have to deal with, is that if they don't have anyone to dispense it, well, they're going to be tricked. You have to sort of lay out your position ahead of time. But right now it's really, Costco doesn't do abortion pills, and you really can, I don't know. You could have with the mail order issue of abortion pills being mailed to people's houses, you really skip the pharmacy aspect altogether. And that's one of the reasons abortions have really skyrocketed, but that's another topic.
Thanks, Israel. Pamela, I want to make sure to get to you. Did you have anything you wanted to share? Comment, question for David? Pamela said in the comments, it's much worse in Canada. I think, and generally, abortion policy is worse in Canada. Okay. Oh, okay. Just comment on. Okay. All right. With that, I think we will wrap up tonight. I think that's a good discussion. A little choppy, a little difficult, but I think that's going to happen sometimes. Thank you so much, David, for joining us and taking the courage to be interrogated by people that are all over the map here. As you can tell, we're all a little different, even within our own group, right? We have Jews and Christians and atheists and Republicans and Democrats.
Judith, prayers for the Jewish community going with everything that they're dealing with.
That's really horrible situation.
Thank you very much. I got a call from the rabbi, so plus it's right here. I can't get on it. But thank you very much.
Thanks for mentioning that,
It's
Andrew.
always something, between October 7th and,
It never ends, you know.
Yeah.
But you have our prayers and our
Thank
solidarity.
you so much. I don't
Thank
want
you.
to think about it right now. I'm trying not to think about it. It's just,
It's a lot. All
'cause
right,
I was
Andrew.
the only, all right. Well, anyway, have a great holiday season, everybody.
Thank you. Everyone
I
have a
mean,
good night.